everyone out there in podcast world. Hope you're having a wonderful day. You're listening to or watching live the Service Business Mastery Podcast. I'm your host, Tersh Blissett. Today, we have an awesome guest, and there's going to be some questions that might sound like I know the answer to, only because Bryan Clayton of GreenPal.com, he's been a guest. He was a guest last year, almost a complete year to date. Is wild, but our recording didn't work out. It was just corrupted, and so I'm super honored for Bryan to take some time and spend some time to come back on the show and talk to us today. We're going to talk a lot about building your service company to operate more like a tech company. And that might sound weird, but I want you to just take a second and really listen to what Bryan has to say about this, because he personally has gone through this. He's experienced this transition. And then also a lot of times we're out in the field, we're in the trenches. There's a lot of listeners here up to the show that do lawn care, and you're out there in the daily grind. And a lot of times you're like, how do I get out of the truck? Or how do I really make this work more seamlessly? And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about that the technical side of running your business and how it can make your life just way more just enjoyable and less stressful. But with that being said, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, Tersh, great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. It's my pleasure. So tell me a little bit about you, your background, and a little bit about GreenPal and what it does exactly.
Yeah, so 20 years of entrepreneurship. I actually was drug into entrepreneurship, kicking and screaming by my father. He made me mow the neighbor's yard on a hot summer day. He said, "Hey, get off your ass. You got a job to do. You're going to go cut the neighbor's yard."
Right?
And so he forced
Sounds
me
like
into,
me with my kid.
It forced me into owning my own first business. And something about just cutting that yard and making $20 stuck with me. And I just loved the idea of owning my own business, even as a teenager. And so I just stuck with that little lawn business. I passed out door hangers, and I had a handful of customers that first year. And it just little by little grew this little lawn mowing business through high school and college into a real company. And over a 15-year period of time, I built this lawn mowing business into one of the largest landscaping companies in the state of Tennessee, where I live. Got it over 150 employees, over $10 million a year in revenue. And in 2013, the company was acquired by one of the largest landscaping businesses in the United States. And so
Wow.
growing that business in the late 90s, all through the 2000s, early 2010s, I saw a lot of change and evolution and how business gets done, and just through trial and error, figured out how to grow a business of that scale. And in 2013, when I sold it, I retired. I took some time off. I got bored, realized, wow, I need to get back in the game. I need to start my next thing. And so the idea for GreenPal, which is my company I'm working on now, which is the Uber for lawn mowing, was really kind of clear and straightforward to me. I was kind of solving my own problem. I knew an app needed to exist to make ordering a lawn mowing service much easier. And so I recruited two co-founders, and we've been working on this business for 8 years. 8-year overnight success. Over 300,000 people use the app to get their grass cut now, and we're doing $20 million a year in revenue. And it's hard to believe it's been 8 years, but I think what's gotten us here is just not giving up and just figuring out how to make this thing work. And so that's 20 years of entrepreneurship in one industry. I've kind of seen it from every angle, and I've seen it from both sides of the table.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. That it's amazing that you've gone through that entire progression and still in the same industry, which is amazing too, because you found this need within that industry in particular and created a solution for it. A massive solution. You've done that along the way, but now you've certainly created that solution for the end consumer like myself, because here lately, or the past couple of years, whenever I didn't want to have, before my kids were old enough to cut the grass themselves, and I didn't want to do it myself, I would have to ask in like a Facebook group or something like that, like, who's the best lawn care company? Like, who would you recommend? Who actually comes in our neighborhood, or who comes out to our house? Because we live way out in the country type stuff. So you've created a solution to a problem that I really didn't realize I had, but now it's a super major convenience for us. So what would you say really with the GreenPal, is it like what's been your biggest pain point? What's been your biggest struggle that you've come to overcome with that with
Yeah.
GreenPal?
So going from running a traditional service-based business, in the trenches, blue collar style of business, hundreds of
Mhm.
employees, trucks, lawnmowers, um, hand-to-hand combat. It was a traditional service-based business. I mean, hell, at the end of running that company, I had four mechanics full time that worked for
Wow.
me. All they did was fix trucks and lawnmowers, and so it was very much like a traditional style of business. And when I sold that, I thought, oh well, that was really hard. And so now I just want to do something easy. I
Yeah.
just want to like have a software business because that's going to be easier. And I don't want all those people and all that equipment and all those customers. I just want to run a software business. And so
Yeah.
luckily I didn't know what I didn't know. And I was very naive. My co-founders as well. We were naive as to how difficult it was going to be to build the Uber for lawn mowing. And so fortunately we didn't know how hard it was going to be, because if we did, we would have been scared. We never would have done it.
Yeah.
But the challenges in the early days were really, really tough. There's a big difference between building a traditional business where there's HVAC, roofing, garage door repair, lawn mowing, home cleaning, you name it. Like,
Mhm.
these are straightforward businesses. If you work
Right.
really hard and you just out hustle your competition, and you take care of your clientele and you figure out ways to do things better, cheaper, faster, you'll be successful.
Mhm.
This was inventing a brand new product that did not yet exist from scratch and trying to figure it out as you went. And so it's kind of like jumping off the cliff and like assembling an airplane on the way down. Like,
Right.
you don't really know what you have to do and what you have to build. And so the only thing that kind of guides you through that is just listening to customers, listening to users. And it was really, really hard in the first few years, like just learning how to code and learning how to build software. My co-founders and I had to do that. And then learning the dynamics of a multi-sided marketplace, satisfying service providers' needs and wants and homeowners, and like striking a balance between the two. These were all very challenging things. We just kind of had to figure it out through trial and error. It took us 4 years to really figure out how to get it going, how to roll it out in the other cities. But luckily, we just stuck with it. One thing about me is that I'm always going to be working on my best idea, and
Mm.
so that's just the default. Like, giving up, quitting is just not an option. So for me, like, it was like, okay, well, I'm not very creative. I don't have very many good ideas. I'm going to be working on this, and that's it. And so that's kind of what kept us going, is that, okay, the only way to move is forward, and we're just going to keep going until we figure it out.
Cool, man. I like that. So what would you say would have made your life better with your lawn care business had you implemented it from GreenPal? What things you wish you would have done earlier in the lawn care business or learned?
Yeah. So as I'm spending 8 years building this app marketplace from scratch, one of the really eye-opening things is like, oh God, if I'd just known these things when I was running my landscaping business, my life would have been so much easier. I'd had a much more profitable business. My customers would have been happier, like all of these things. And so it's like, it opened my eyes to, I think in the future, every service-based business, really every business, is going to be at some shape or form a technology business.
Mm.
And so if you're not thinking about this now as a business owner now, whether you own like a HVAC company or a roof repair company, or if you're like a concrete contractor, if you're not thinking about like how you're going to leverage technology to operate smoother, more efficiently, how to serve your customers better, how to treat your employees better, how to train your employees, like every facet of your business, there is software out there that you can buy off the shelf to do it better. And so, like, as I'm building like this app from scratch that basically is the operating system for lawn mowing services, I'm like, damn, I wish I had this,
Yeah.
or I wish I had the capability to build these workflows and build these tools when I was running my last company. And so I think nowadays, like, you don't have to build these things from scratch. A lot of these products exist, and you can actually wire them together if you're willing to learn enough about it. And so, like, I guess the thing I challenge service-based entrepreneurs, whether it's just you in a pickup or
Mhm.
you and 10 or 20 employees, it's like, really focus on ways that you can leverage technology to do what you're doing better, and don't get overwhelmed by all the things that are out there. Just focus on one thing. And one place you can really focus on is removing the friction that it takes to do business with you.
Mm.
and what I mean by that is like removing all the things that your customer has to do business with you and figuring out ways to leverage technology to do that. Like, for example, when I go to the dentist today in 2021, why is it that they still hand me a clipboard with a big pen and 7 pieces of paper that I have to
Right?
fill out? Like, why is that? That should not happen. There's no excuse for that. And maybe some dentists have adopted the ability to like, collect this data and store it and like have it to where you as the customer don't have to do that. But like, why does that happen? And like, why when my roof is leaking, I've got to leave 12 voicemails for somebody just to even like hopefully somebody call me back. If you're in the business of roof repair, you need to make it super simple for people to find you and hire you, ideally without even a phone call. And so looking for ways to leverage technology in your business to do it better, more efficient, and to cut costs and deliver a more delightful experience to your customer. There's all sorts of opportunities for that for business owners today, and like we're like in like minute one of day one.
Yeah.
But fast forward 5 or 10 years from now, if you don't start thinking like this, either you'll have a business that sucks and you hate because it's not profitable and you're having to like work in it 100 hours a week, or you won't be in business at all.
Yeah. And also to piggyback on that last statement that you made, if you are any type of person to where you watch your competitors, I'm not saying that that's good. I'm not saying you shouldn't do that type of thing. But if you happen to be that person where you're like, oh, this company over here is growing and I'm kind of stagnant, and it seems like they're growing at a really rapid pace. Well, there's a good chance that that company has a lot of technology built into automation. And if you were to look at the that company in depth, it's probably overwhelming. So people come and they see what we have going on and the automations that we've built, and they're like, whoa, how did you do all of that? And it goes back to the old adage, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Yep.
I mean, it's just starting that Microsoft Office workflow and creating that automation. Like, if even as simple as creating rules inside your email. So if the email comes from this person and it has this in the subject line, send it straight to this folder. Like, it's a email that I need to have, but it's not one that I need in my inbox that I need to see all the time. So why create the work for me? So now that's a split second that I don't have to spend doing that. And it's all those split seconds added up together. Now I'm growing a business while I'm also able to do other things like social media posts that are automated as well, you know?
Exactly. And like to your point, just focus on one thing and just like improve one or two things every week and try to figure out how to use technology to improve those things over a year, 2, 3 year period of time. You'll have drastically improved your business, and not just for you as the owner, but for your customer. So your customer doesn't have to like mail you a check, God forbid, or even call you with a credit card number. Or like they should, like, it's table stakes these days. They should be able to log into a portal and pay you. Or your customer's not getting a picture of the completed job emailed to them magically. Like people expect this kind of stuff. So some things, like some symptoms, are paper.
Mm,
Everywhere you see paper, it's a symptom of something that you can automate and do better. If you're handwriting out a work order and you're handwriting out directions for your tech to go or whatever, it's like that's a symptom of a place that you can improve, because paper almost should never exist in your organization. It's like, so why am I writing this down? Or if you're in a spreadsheet, I mean, yeah, spreadsheets aren't never going to 100% go away, but if
mhm.
you're in a spreadsheet, that's a symptom of a place that you might could automate. It's like, why am I typing this into a spreadsheet? Why do I have to type this in at all? Like, they called, somebody
Mhm.
took down their information. That should be put into a master CRM somewhere, and that should just live forever. I should never have to write this person's name down on a piece of paper ever. And so, like, looking for these ways to streamline things and do them more efficiently in your organization, and even better yet, reducing the friction and pain that your customer has to go through to do business with you even better, are ways you can leverage technology to run a better business.
So for the people who are listening who may be in the lawn care, what would you say is a simple way to help? Like, what's an app or maybe a program that they could use to help some of this automation?
Yeah, so for us, we have built the operating system for very small service providers in the lawn mowing
Okay.
business. So let's say you want to do 20 or 30 yards a week. You jump on GreenPal, everything's handled for you from scheduling to
Really
routing to getting new customers to getting paid, all of that. Now, let's say
nice.
you are running like a 3-person show or
Hmm.
5-person company or 10-person company. GreenPal is not a real good fit for you. You've already
Okay.
got your systems, you've already got your processes. Um, and so what do you do then? You have to really be willing to eat your business from the inside out and
Ooh.
systemize it. Yeah, sure, you've already got your spreadsheets and you print those off and you give them to the crew
Hmm.
foreman and they write stuff on the paper and then you take it back. You probably don't even look at it.
Right.
And then maybe the secretary or somebody like mails out an invoice. And who knows if that's correct? And
Right.
and and who knows if we even made money on any of this stuff? And you just kind of hope it all works out. And so you've been doing it that way for 5 or 10 years, and the idea of doing it any other way is just like is scary to you.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. You have to be willing to get over that, and
Hmm.
you have to be willing to implement an operating system to do all this better. And so the good news is today, like 2021, there are good platforms that you can operate your business on top of. In fact, there's almost too many, and I think
Yeah.
that's a barrier as well. Some ones I recommend you take a look at. Jobber's good, Service Autopilot's good, Service Titan is good, and these are not necessarily lawn care specific.
Yeah.
And I recommend you look at those, and do what I call fire bullets then cannonballs. Like, try to run one crew on one, or one tech on one of these platforms and see if you can make
Mm.
it work. Then, if you can, then layer on some more and more and more operations on top of it. And if you don't like it, really try to reach out to the people building this product and get support. And if it's a dead end, cut it. Try
Yeah.
another one.
Yeah.
The point is that you have to be willing to jump off the deep end and put these things in your business and be willing to disrupt the status quo if you're going to make that leap. Because if you don't, you're still going to be printing off the same damn route sheets that you typed up on Microsoft Office or some shit, and
Yep.
it's never going to get better. You got to be willing to like do that and willing to experiment in these things in order to like level up and get to 8 figures.
Yeah, I love that. That's massive. What, whenever they're at what point do you feel like they are going to start using iPads in the field instead of getting paper in the field? Like how many trucks would you say that would start out at? Do you think?
Today, like, if you're not doing that today,
Yeah.
you may be behind. And it's probably industry by industry,
Yeah.
but like, I think today your tech needs to have the iPad. The work order should be on the iPad. All of the stuff around what the client needs and wants should be on the iPad. They should take the iPad and take pictures of before and after, because everybody loves a before and after. It doesn't matter what you're doing. If it's house cleaning, garage door repair, pressure washing, HVAC, like, send me a picture of the HVAC unit with the filter all clogged and then like a before and after. That makes your $428 invoice hurt less.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I guarantee, if you're willing to do that, and even if it's just manually at first, like emailing these things and figuring out the workflow, and then look for a operating system that can help you do that. I know Jobber and Service Titan do that,
Hmm.
and so a lot of these things might seem expensive, but like, how many times have you had to eat an invoice because of mismanaged customer expectations?
Very true.
I mean, this stuff pays for itself.
Absolutely. And it will actually, the automation that's built into these softwares, they will, it's the cost of, or the cost of that is program is far less than the additional employees you have to bring on to do
Right.
the same amount of work.
Right, exactly. Like, you could almost eliminate, like, in my last business, we had one lady that answered the phone. We had another lady that was an office manager. We had another lady that did like routing and organization across crews. And then we had an HR person. Like, all of that can be one person part time
Mhm.
today,
Mhm.
because tools exist to make these things all operate much easier. And if you can combine that with like, so a couple of virtual uh uh people, like somebody to answer the phone virtually,
Yeah.
somebody to do data entry virtually, you can really, really, really supercharge your business.
That's funny you say that because I literally was getting ready to ask that as the next question because uh, I we use like our CFOs remote, our bookkeepers remote, our HR is remote, our CSR. So the people who answer our phones, they're all remote. Outbounders are remote. So we function predominantly remotely, and uh, so you're good with having like an ADP or a Paychex doing that kind of stuff. You're okay with that kind of thing?
I think the more you can leverage somebody remotely and fractionally, the better. So back in my day when I was running a 150 person organization, one thing we always dealt with was like we needed a CFO that was, makes 100, 200,000 a year, but couldn't afford it. And these days, you can hire that same CFO fractionally to
Yeah.
look at your books once a month for 2 or 3 hours a month. And so,
Yep.
one thing I've learned is like it's better to hire the best for an hour a week than to hire somebody who sucks for 40 hours a week. And
Absolutely, man. I
yeah,
love that. What time is that? I gotta quote that one on. It's so true though, because like what you said, like that having that controller or CFO, like you don't have to have that person for 40 hours a week
back in the day, you used to. You
exactly.
used to have to. You
Crazy.
used to have to like bite it off and be able to pay this person six figures to sit there in a leather back chair in the office. And it's nowadays on Upwork.com or other places you can hire a fractional CFO to look over your books and close them out once a week for 2 hours a week. Yeah, they might make $150 an hour, but they're worth it. And the same is to be said for a CTO, somebody to look over all this technology we're talking about and to guide you on that, or a chief of legal or an HR person. Like if you can hire a rock star HR person for 2 hours a month to look over what you're doing, they will save you $100,000 lawsuit at some point. Back in the day, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, if you didn't have the room in your budget to hire this person full
Hmm.
time, guess what? You just kind of had to figure it out on your own and take the licks. These
Yeah.
days, there's no excuse. You don't have to do that.
Yeah. It's like fingers crossed until I get big enough to I don't get sued.
Right. Yeah, the gap between when you get big enough to have this person on staff versus like you can afford them used to be like really big, and you were just like out there in the gauntlet naked. And I've been sued probably 50 times in 20 years, and it was because I didn't have the processes and protections in place because I didn't know. Nowadays there's no excuse. You can hire a top level CFO to make sure you're compliant in terms of taxes. You can hire a top level HR person for a couple of hours a week or month and make sure you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. And guess what? Technology is the thing that enables you to do that. So it circles back around to leveraging technology in 2021 to operate your garage door repair business like a tech company.
Hmm. Absolutely. And I'll give everybody a little tidbit of behind the scenes with our business. So Service Emperor, our entire office staff is remote. So we have Julie and I, she's in the office right next door. We have a monitor that's up and it has Zoom going all day long. So all of our remote office staff, they're on that Zoom screen.
It's like
And
it's like you're there.
it's like we're sitting right next to each
Yep.
other. And it's even better because nobody comes and knocks on the door and interrupts anything. They can see that, hey, Tersh is on the middle of a podcast. Don't unmute to ask him a question,
Yep.
and the same with like a phone call. And it's really awesome. And if something happens, they can just hit the chat right there and just shows up on there and we can answer the question. So it is really an amazing workflow and accountability for remote staff.
Yeah, and here's the other thing too is I don't know where you're at, but I I'm willing to bet most every face on that screen is probably better at what they do and more efficient than what you can find in your town.
Oh yeah, we're
Putting
in a
an
small
ad out,
town right outside of Savannah. So we're 60 miles away from downtown Savannah, and if we have a very small pool locally for what we needed for sure.
yeah, if I need like a rock star marketer that's really going to help us like grow 100% next year, what are the odds of you finding that right fit in much
Mhm.
less where you're at, or even Savannah,
Right.
probably very slim. But if you're willing to open that pool out nationwide or maybe even worldwide, you can find somebody who's a lot better, more efficient, who's been there, done that. And it's better to hire them for 5 hours a week rather than Susie Marketer for marketer quotes for 40 hours a week.
Yeah, man, this is awesome, dude. I appreciate it. I mean, we've gone like 10 minutes over what we said we would, but if people want to get in touch with you, learn more about you, what's the best way for that to happen?
Yeah. So anybody listening to this that doesn't want to, like, you talk about highest and best use of your time, you don't need to cut your own grass. You can just download GreenPal in the App Store, get hooked up with a great lawn mowing service. You can use it in anywhere in the United States. We're not yet in Canada yet, but we will be soon. Anybody wants to reach me personally, LinkedIn. I've been hanging out there a lot more lately. Just hit me up on LinkedIn.
All right, cool, man. And then if I am a lawn care company that wants to get connected with you, what's the best way for that to happen?
Yeah, just go to yourgreenpal.com, scroll down to the bottom and click apply as a vendor, and you can get set up in just less than 15 minutes.
Sweet, man. I appreciate it. Is there anything that I forgot to ask?
Nah, man, I think we hopefully the people listening to this got some value out of it, and I hope that that people listening to this will be encouraged to rebuild their business from the inside out and using technology to do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. Cool. If you've watched this and you have any questions about anything, don't hesitate to reach out to Bryan or myself. As always, my email is tersh@serviceemperor.com. All of this will be in the show notes as well. I hope you have a wonderful day. And until we talk again next time, be safe.